Good evening. It is 7 p.m. on March 5th, 2019. This is the regular City Commission meeting, City of Ormond Beach, and we are in the Commission chambers. I hope you felt welcome this evening by our brand new Utilities Manager, Robin Bain. She joined us. And our Human Resources Manager, Heather Kidd. They both were our greeters this evening. I'd like to introduce the folks that are sitting up in front of you, to my right, your left. Wendy Nichols, our recording secretary. City Clerk Lisa Dame. Commissioner from Zone 1, Dwight Selby. Our Deputy Mayor and Zone 2 Commissioner, Troy Kent. To my left and your right, Commissioner from Zone 3, Susan Persis. Commissioner from Zone 4, Rob Littleton. Our City Manager, Joyce Shanahan. Assistant City Manager, Claire Whitley. City Attorney, Randy Hayes. And for those of you listening online, I'm Mayor Bill Partington. If you would, please rise for the invocation given by Deacon Maylene Wells Stowe from Church of the Holy Child Episcopal Church, and that'll be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Almighty God, our Heavenly Father, we give you praise for this beautiful city we call home. Keep us ever mindful that we are but stewards of that which is yours, that which you created and entrusted to our care for just a time. We thank you for those you have raised up for leadership and ask that your spirit of wisdom, of charity, and of justice will guide their deliberations, that they may faithfully serve and promote the well-being of the people of Ormond Beach. And now, Lord, we ask your blessings upon all those gathered here and on this meeting tonight, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Move on to audience remarks, and we start with Linda Williams.
I didn't plan what to talk about tonight, but I want to tell you all that I appreciate you and that I know in your heart you want to do what's best for the city, and I appreciate that. I've started a group called Civil Discourse, and I'm pretty excited about it. We had about 6 or 7 people there, but we need people of all different viewpoints, because that's the point of it. So, and you would be welcome to join us. We're not sure where we're going to meet, because you can only meet in the library once a month. So I don't know if the city would make a room available for Civil Discourse, and so I wanted to tell you about that. And I feel like in the OB Life Plan, there is a lot that we want in common. And there were, like growth, and what was the word that was used with growth? It wasn't sustained, but there was another, smart growth. And I feel like that all of the things that came out were things that we are all interested in and want. But I was looking for something that tied it all together, and that would bring us together rather than separate us, because I feel like that's been going on too long. And I think this would go across all the subjects, would be sustainability. I know we have something in there about environment and transportation and all that. So I'm wondering if we could include something about that, or do some research about the topics that came up and what we're going to go about. And I noticed in the previous strategic plan there was an outside group that came in, and it was a lot about growth then. And I'm wondering if we could just get some more, I don't know if it's research or stuff like that to go into it, bringing maybe some more consultants in, so that we don't get stuck in our mind with how it should be, and it could maybe bring it together with sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. Deputy Mayor Kent.
Yep. Ms. Williams, I was just had a comment about that. I'm a little perplexed just by the comments that we have a good heart and, you know, we want those same things, because Mr. Hayes, maybe you can clear it up for me, but I had some information from city staff that we were going to be sued by Ms. Williams, and I just want to get it on the public record that I will be having zero conversations with anybody that's going to sue this commission or sue this city per direction from my city attorney. And I just wanted to put that out there because I haven't heard anything differently. So I just wanted to get some clear information.
Certainly, yes, sir. I think we've cleared that matter up, and I had a very nice long discussion with Ms. Williams, and it's my understanding that no lawsuit will be forthcoming, and I think she's interested, as she indicated to me that she's interested in learning more about how the organization functions and the decision-making process. So that was how we left our conversation.
Thank you for clearing that up. I can speak with Ms. Williams again. Thank you.
Yes, sir. There you go.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Jim Schultz.
Jim Schultz, 117 Harvard Drive. Yeah, I've been reading the Children's Health Defense quite a bit lately. A lot of fantastic articles in there. And one thing that Robert Kennedy Jr. as an attorney does is he sort of nails it down a little tight and makes sure that his briefs have all the data in them. Lingrave, as the president of the organization, just sent out a 10-page letter to the three major internet provider, well, not internet providers, but Facebook, Zuckerberg, and the other two. And because what had happened is Adam Schiff had asked them to censor any speech that was unfavorable to vaccination. Now, he didn't, because he implied that it was all decided. And if you know anything about science, science is never decided. Science is always in a complex process of change. And if you go to the people who write the science journals, there are a couple of them now retired that say that over 50%, well over 50% of the studies that get published in the British Medical Journal, Lancet, and all that are fraudulent. They can't be duplicated, replicated. In other words, half your science is crap. It's not real science. I remember there was one guy who did some fantastic work on AIDS, got over $10 million in funding, and they found he fabricated everything. Going after him didn't alter the fact that everybody else followed him. But anyways, and this isn't the only thing, but right now, let's face it, the Facebooks and that have already taken that attitude against folks that they don't agree with. And the Facebooks companies are mostly H-1Bs. They're not Americans, actually. They're not Judeo-Christian. They're foreign nationals who have very different, distinct opinions than Americans. And they don't feel that the First Amendment, is a valid issue. And, one of my biggest, ugliest memories is I was watching a video, listening to it, and it was about Mother Kenny and a polio thing. And the virologists knew that the polio vaccine was loaded with cancer. They laughed their butts off inconsolably because the Russians were being tested with it and weren't going to be able to win the Olympics.
Thank you, Jim. Paul Duncan. How are you?
Can I ask your daddy a question?
Later, right?
No, I want to ask him right now because it's going to have to do with what I'm talking to the city manager about.
Paul, we have rules, and if I let you do one thing, then I got to let the next person do the next thing.
Well, he can
3 minutes that
testify
you
to
have
something.
is to address
Tells
this
me-
board. So
Right now,
if
she
you wanted
tells
to
me
ask
one
him a
thing and I
question,
know
you
that's
should have
a lie.
asked him that afterwards.
And your dad can verify that I'm telling the truth.
Yeah, we're not going to get into that. If you got something to tell us, you got 3 minutes to do it. So get
Well,
busy.
I'm telling you that right now I'm dying because of you,
Understood.
okay? And I refuse to quit. I've had 23 strokes, 2 heart attacks, but I'm stubborn. I don't quit. And she tells me that we didn't have a landfill over here. You know we had a landfill over here. Your daddy used to go down there and shoot rabbits. That's why I wanted to ask him. He knew it was a landfill, and the garbage trucks from Ormond Beach used to go there. And there used to be a tar pit on one end of that garbage. And I got to the operator of Rex Dill's crane, and he said the city had him go in there and dig it all up and mix it in with the lake. And that's what's polluted my life. I got 2 brothers right now that are dying of leukemia. It's all because of you guys. I've already had 2 sisters die of leukemia. I'm tired of losing my family. My mother and dad both died of cancer. We'd never had cancer in any of our genealogy. My sister Julie has our genealogy that goes all the way back to the second ship that came on this shore. So I can tell you we're pretty good at following our genealogy, and there's no cancer in there. But now there's cancer in it. I've lost 2 sisters to leukemia, and I've got 2 brothers that I'm losing. And I'm not going to lose them. Y'all polluted the well, the water in the lake from that landfill, and that lake turned around and polluted my land. All my underground water is polluted. I used to drink that water as a kid, drank it all the time. Never thought a thing of it other than it tasted bad, until I took a mason jar and filled it up and brought it down to John Loomkill. Put it on his desk. He said, "What's that?" I said, "That's my drinking water." He said, "That's terrible." I said, "Yeah, I know it's terrible." And I said, "And it's your fault." I said, "So what are we going to do about it?" He said, "I'll waive the impact fee so you can get city water." So they let me tie in the Fox, whatever that subdivision over there, Fox Meadows or whatever. And so I ran 1.25 inch pipe down because I got 600 feet of land, and that was going to take a lot of water. So I put it in. And here a while back, your water guy came by and worked on my meter and tried to put a regular meter back in. And I told him if he wanted to walk, he'd better put a commercial meter back in there because that's what John Loomkill let me have.
Understood, Paul. I know you're a good person, and I know my dad's known you a long time. He's told me you're a good person. I certainly take his word. I know it beyond that just because I know
Right.
of what you've done in this community. I know the allegations that you truly believe. None of us were here, of us 5, were here for that, and actually anybody that's up here. But I understand totally what you're saying. That's the kind of stuff that could be litigated for years and years, and I hope we're not going down
Well,
that
I'm going
road.
to tell you
but-
right now, you're about to get sued,
Okay,
and it'll be me on the other end of it.
understood. Thank you.
And I don't have a choice.
All righty. Thank you,
I also
Paul.
want you to know something else. Your police chief over here is never on duty at the office.
Paul, your time has expired. I'm sorry. And we're going to move on to the approval of minutes. The minutes from the City Commission meeting on February 19th, 2019 have been sent to the Commission for review, also posted on the city's website. Any additions, corrections, or deletions?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Does that have anything to do
Second.
with my land that you're buying?
All those in favor,
Aye.
please say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. The minutes are deemed approved, and that's, again, the February 19th minutes. Now we move to the consent agenda. You can have a seat, Paul.
Well, I'm just here to tell you one more thing. I'm not selling you my land.
Understood.
You've
Understood.
got an attorney that's stupid.
Well,
And I would
Paul,
tolerate-
we're going to be respectful, if nothing else, here tonight, okay?
He's not respectful.
We're not going to call people names. I'll have you removed if I need to. But let's move on to the consent agenda while you either have a seat or you can leave voluntarily. Thank you. At this time, the action proposed is stated for each item on the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to pull anything? Commissioner Persis.
Yes, is it 6A? 6A.
Mr. Mayor, motion to approve absent item 6A.
Second.
Second. Lisa, if you would, please call the vote on the consent agenda absent item 6A.
Commissioner Selby,
Yes.
Commissioner Kent,
Yes.
Commissioner Persis,
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton.
Yes.
Mayor Partington.
Yes, and that brings us to 6A.
Yeah, I just had a question as far as the increase of the attorney's fees. I was wondering when the last time the fees were increased, how long ago it was.
Randy, Mike.
I believe it was 2014, if I remember correctly. Is that correct? Yeah. 2014. Oh, here we go. And it was a $25 increase. $25 an hour, I'm sorry.
And then before that, when was the last increase?
Let's see here. It was 2011. The contract was entered in 1992.
Okay.
And then the next increase was in 1996, then the year 2000, then 2007, 2011, 2014, and 2019. 2011, 2014, 2019, sorry.
And Randy, are these fees comparable with other cities as to what they pay, cities surrounding us, our sister cities?
Yeah, they are. I can tell you, both our HR staff did a sampling today, and they're comparable. You know, the general rate, it depends on your market area where you're at and the substance of the subject matter of what it is that you're dealing with. You know, if we can get something in a range of about $2.25 an hour, that's pretty good these days. Most things are going to be about $2.50 on up. And if they're complex matters, federal employment laws tend to be such a thing. You know, they can be even more than that. So I would say that these are comparable, and the services that we've received from Mr. Levitt have always been, you know, pretty spot on. So.
Okay, thank you. That answers my questions.
Good deal. Lisa, if you would, please read the resolution just by title.
Resolution 2019-53, a resolution authorizing the execution of a 7th Amendment to the Labor Council Agreement between the City and Allen Norton and Blue PA to increase fees and setting forth an effective date. Resolution 2019-53, read by title only.
Thank you. Just need a motion and a
I
second.
move for approval of resolution number 2019-53.
Second.
Any other questions or discussion? Please call the vote.
Commissioner Kent,
Yes.
Commissioner Persis,
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton,
Yes.
Commissioner Selby,
Yes.
Mayor Partington.
Yes. And now would be the appropriate time if any member of the commission would like to comment on the consent agenda. If not, we will move to 7A.
Ordinance number 2019-7, an ordinance amending Chapter 10, Solid Waste, Yard Waste, and Recyclables, Section 10-16, 6, Recycling of the Code of Ordinances by increasing fees for the collection and disposal of recycling, repealing all inconsistent ordinances or parts thereof, setting forth an effective date. This is Ordinance 2019-7, read by title only.
Thank you, Lisa. Just need a motion and a second.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? I don't have any cards on this one.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Selby.
Yeah, I'm going to vote against this. in order to be consistent with my earlier vote regarding the contract, only because I don't believe that we should be raising the recycle charges to our citizens between now and October 1st, when the new contract goes into force.
Understood. Any other discussion? Lisa, please call the vote.
Commissioner Persis,
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton,
Yes.
Commissioner Selby,
Yes.
Commissioner Kent,
Yes.
Mayor Partington.
Yes. That brings us to item number 8, reports, suggestions, and requests. And we start with the city manager, Joyce Shanahan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a reminder that your next meeting, the second meeting of the month, is Thursday, March 21st, because you all will be attending the Volusia League of Cities that Tuesday and Wednesday, so it's a Thursday evening meeting. Staff would like to schedule some future workshops with you to see what your level of interest is. Staff has, there's been a sample wall completed on the McDonald House, the west wall. I'd like to schedule meetings with you individually to go take a look at that. But we would like to talk to you on April 16th, maybe a 6 o'clock workshop, just to get some direction from you regarding the McDonald House as we begin the CIP budget development process. Is there anybody object to that?
6 p.m.
6 p.m. on the 16th.
Which day again? 16th?
April 16th. That works for me.
No objection.
Okay.
Yeah, that works for me.
Me as well.
If that's okay, we'll move to schedule that. Also, on May 21st, we had a discussion about food trucks a month or so ago. We'd like to continue that discussion, and we would like to do that on May 21st at 5:30. Stephen, do we need the planning board there, or no? The planning board would be a joint workshop with them again, if that's okay with you.
On food trucks again?
Yeah, I don't think we reached any conclusion last time. You'd asked us to come back with some additional information, so...
It seemed pretty obvious to me. I mean, the consensus was to move forward with expanding it as much as possible.
Okay.
Did you listen to the tape or try to get... When we left the meeting, everybody had what they needed.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And then just a reminder that Kelly spoke earlier that June 4th would be the capital improvement budget workshop at 5:30. Just to let you know that the Forest Hills Connector Trail is still, it's nearing completion. The fishing pier repair, all of the new piles have been installed and framing is continuing, and they hope to complete that, I think, by April. We'll report to you on the McDonald House findings for that, and we're continuing our capital budget. You know, we're working hard on getting those things completed, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I have one. There's no workshop for the 21st, right?
No workshop.
Thank you.
All right. Assistant City Manager Claire Whitley.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you. City Attorney Randy Hayes.
No, sir, thank you.
Okay. And tonight we start with Commissioner Persis.
Oh, that's great. Good evening, everyone. I just want to report that I had the great pleasure of attending the Taste of Ormond on Sunday, and it was just wonderful. We had so many restaurants that were there, and all the food was delicious, and we're so fortunate to have so many great restaurants right here in Ormond Beach that we can all go to, you know, depending on what mood we're in and what kind of food we want. We sure have a nice variety, and it was just a wonderful event put on by Ormond Main Street, and I just had a great time. That's really all that I have this evening. I hope everyone has a great week. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Littleton.
Commissioner Persis basically said it all, so thank you and good night.
Thank you. Commissioner Selby.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The only comment I wanted to make tonight was that I've had I've had a couple of different residents recently, and I've observed it also. We've experienced it a little bit ourselves. Vagrancy, an increase in vagrancy and panhandling. And I don't know if this is as a result of the implementation of the anti-panhandling ordinance in Daytona Beach or not, but I'm certain that it is. There are also some lands have been cleared in Ormond where we know that there were some homeless camps and so forth. So, and I talked to Mr. Hayes earlier today about what we can do about this, and I don't know if Mr. Hayes is comfortable actually addressing it at this moment, or if he'd like to come back to us at a future time or not. But it's complicated. Let me, what to do is complicated. So, but with that, I'll hand it off to him if he'd like to speak.
I'll certainly do what the commission wishes, for sure. If you'd like me to address it this evening, I can do that. If you'd like to bring it back, we can do that as well. So, Mr. Mayor, what's your preference?
Well, Randy, we've had a fair amount of discussions about it, and certainly we track it very closely, just like you guys do. So if you just give us an update of where we're at, whether Daytona has been sued or not, and then what options we have between you and the police chief and private entities as far as trespassing or trying to reduce some of the problems that we have.
Certainly, I'll be happy to do so. Obviously, this is a very challenging subject for everybody, residents and local government bodies, and all of the jurisdictions are dealing with the same issue. It's hard to know whether the ordinance that Daytona recently adopted is having any impact on the surrounding communities or not. Obviously, it's not a crime to be homeless. It's not a crime to solicit money or for other forms of assistance. The behavior obviously is can become problematic, and I think that's what a lot of the residents tend to complain about. And unfortunately for you folks, because you tend to be on the receiving end of that. Unfortunately, the case law on this subject matter has not been favorable to local government enforcement on these matters, not as of yet. Now, that may change over time. The Reed decision that we struggled with over the temporary signage, as you will recall, involved First Amendment freedom of expression principles, and the holding in that case has actually been extended into other forms, as well as panhandling and solicitation and rights for homelessness. We do have an ordinance that is fairly restrictive, and it does establish zones which we have identified as being the more problematic areas. The problem, though, is that we don't believe it's enforceable as such, and so we have cautioned our law enforcement officers not to take an aggressive enforcement measure under the local ordinance, and for several reasons. There is a state law that does prohibit the obstruction of traffic, and there's a subpart to that law that also would prohibit solicitation. That's in Part 2 of the statute. That subpart 2 has actually been challenged as being unenforceable and unconstitutional based on the First Amendment expression. So, we've also cautioned our officers not to enforce that component of it. It expressly criminalizes the act of solicitation, which has been deemed to be worthy of First Amendment protection. The first part is the part that is enforceable, and that's the part that deals with obstruction of traffic and roads and that sort of thing. So that's enforceable. Of course, we have to have an officer there in order to observe it. So from a public property perspective, we have that aspect. From the aspect of solicitations on private property, that's actually something that probably the private property owners can have some, they may have a role to play as well, because they can actually trespass these folks. They'll have to coordinate that through the law enforcement agencies. There's a process we'll have to abide by, But in terms of the ordinance itself, it would not be our recommendation to duplicate what the city of St. Augustine or the city of Daytona Beach has done at this juncture. It's just, in our view, it's overly aggressive. They feel that they have good reason to do that, and that's certainly fine. It's my understanding that there are some parties that are likely to challenge that. It will be an expensive venture for them to go through if that occurs. Some of our municipal colleagues that we have spoken to have taken a cautionary approach, as we have, and we're kind of watching what's going on in Daytona Beach and St. Augustine and some of the other areas. And if we get some favorable court decisions, then we'll be able to adjust both our local ordinance preferences as well as our enforcement strategy accordingly. But at this juncture, our preference would be to take a cautionary approach. The problem with trying to enforce a local ordinance is that we would have to rely on the state attorney's office to prosecute those cases. They would do so pursuant to an interlocal agreement by which we agree to reimburse them for the cost for doing so. We would also likely be required to pay for the defense counsel for those individuals, as well as potentially the cost of housing these individuals in the Volusia County jail system. So it could be a rather expensive venture. So our approach, we believe, is probably the more prudent one. I know our police chief has established a program within his department wherein they do try to be responsive to these types of situations as they occur, and I'm not going to try to describe that to you, but he can certainly provide more information on that if he wishes. So that's kind of a thumbnail summary of where we're at with this, but we'll certainly do as this commission directs, but we would certainly recommend taking the more cautionary approach. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Any questions for Randy based on that? Chief, can you tell us, I'm getting complaints about people at gas stations being approached for money, I guess in fast food drive-thrus as well. It happens as recent as this afternoon. If those business owners tell you to trespass those folks, are you legally able to do that without any issue?
Absolutely. We follow state law and do that. Absolutely. If you want me to speak on what we've been doing, because we saw this coming, is we're not sitting on our hands. What we did was we had meetings with parks, with legal, for signage, to make sure that our signage is up to date and it's enforceable. There's a slew of city ordinances and state statutes that we can enforce, that we are enforcing. One of the things that we've done recently is we've created a position within the police department. It's an ancillary duty, but it's a lieutenant, and he's our coordinator. And it's just not an enforcement effort. It's a contact effort, because we take our victim advocate with us as well. And if these individuals need help, we certainly can get them that help. I know we have about 10 full-time residents in our community that are homeless, that don't want any help, and they will not take our services. So unfortunately for us, our only recourse is enforcement. As taking the city attorney's advice and being cautious what we do, we focus mainly on our state statutes that we can enforce and our city ordinances that are on the books, the open container ordinances near establishments that sell alcohol. So that's what we're doing.
Any questions for the chief?
Mr. Mayor, no questions for the chief, but I will just say I have had constituents calling me lately, telling me that they were approached, accosted at gas stations. They've seen this panhandling on Nova Road. They've seen it on Airport Road, Timber Creek, by the elementary school. So I'm pleased to hear that our chief is being proactive, because the residents of Ormond Beach, they don't want that. They don't want the problems that we saw to the south of us. And it's incumbent upon us to do something if that becomes a problem. And, I really, I always listen to our attorney. He's a smart man, and he's a hard worker. And sometimes he's a little too conservative, I think. And my only comment to him was, but what can we do right now while we're waiting for lawsuits that may or may not happen, and we've got to wait for that to go through the court system? But what do we do for our residents right now? And I think the chief did a good job of answering of what we're doing right now. My concern, Chief, and I'm so glad that we have a victim's advocate who is there on scene to help. And I'll just share this, Mr. Mayor. I've done ride-alongs with our police officers, and our officers know those individuals that the chief just talked about, know them by name, and interact with them in a loving, compassionate way that blows me away. It'll make your heart smile. And these people need help, and unfortunately some of them won't take it. My concern also is the people that were panhandling will panhandle because they're coming in and doing it as a job. They're not, they're doing it just to make money. And we heard stories from our sister cities about people coming over in vans from other communities to the west, and that's what they did all day long, to make money. So there, Chief, I think we've got a little bit of a problem because I don't know that they need assistance with a victim's advocate. I think our residents need some assistance because they're the victims of what's going on.
Right. Commissioner Selby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chief, I had a question for you. We signed the trespass thing on one or two of the properties that I'm involved with in Ormond. But I was just curious, at the gas stations, I'm just curious, are most of those are sort of corporate owned, and you got hourly employees working a cash register, and I mean, are you aware if any of the local service stations have signed trespass? They have. Okay.
Yes, we do. Yes.
Okay, good. All right, that's good. And then are they then calling and enforcing it? Because
that's
okay.
Where the problem lies. Is they'll get on social media and talk about it, but they won't call us.
Yeah.
And we find out about it after the fact. But that's kind of our frustration. But when we're made aware of it, we do go out and address it.
And then a follow-up question. I know that are the police supposed to have witnessed the activity happening? So if somebody takes video of it, is that sufficient and they show the video?
No.
So third-party video is not good enough?
No.
Wow, interesting. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The challenge with this, Mr. Mayor, of course, is that, we had just had a 20-minute or so discussion about this, and, the residents, they want to know, what are you doing about it, and they want a two-sentence explanation.
Like you said earlier on the recycling issue, it's education and letting our residents know if they see something, say something. Don't be afraid to call us. We want them to let you know so that you can do something. If they don't call because they think I'm not going to bother them with that, then we hear about it later when they get home and get on social media, but it doesn't get fixed right then when they could. So that's a big part of it. If they see something, they need to say something, and hopefully the media can get that message out. I don't know if you want them to call on the non-emergency line. I know you guys can't really monitor social media for that kind of stuff.
Yes, they have to call the non-emergency line. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Anything else, Commissioner Selby? All right, I appreciate it. Deputy Mayor Kent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of comments this evening. I want to briefly talk about our public schools. And I am so glad that I made the decision I made to be a teacher and now administrator, because small miracles happen in the classrooms of Volusia County Public Schools every single day. And I want to give a shout out to our school board chairman, Carl Persis, who today was at Ormond Beach Middle School. Ormond Beach has one middle school. He was at our middle school this morning with a hairnet and gloves on, serving breakfast to all of our students.
Hope you got pictures.
I have pictures. And it was a really great thing. Carl was the first principal of the new Ormond Beach Middle School, and he got done with breakfast, and he was off to go say hi to teachers that he hired and brought in, and it was great. The second thing I want to talk about, real positive about Ormond Beach Middle School today, was that our chief, Godfrey, led up the pack of chiefs and captains from at least 10 departments. They came in today, these gentlemen came in today and spoke with our 7th grade civics students and opened the floor up. It almost reminded me of like a coffee with Commissioner Kent, like anything you want to talk about. And our students peppered you all with great questions, and you all had excellent responses. And I'm proud that you're my chief. You were leading the show in there today, and everyone noticed it. It was your relationship with other departments, Chief Godfrey, is impressive. And even the piece about you working for Daytona, the gentleman from Daytona was giving you some mad props today in front of the meeting about his time with you as a detective. So anyway, I just wanted to share that we did that today. Chief Sievers, I had coffee with Commissioner Kent yesterday, and it was standing room only in my family room. We were jammed up, and it was an excellent meeting. It reminded me of why I hold that meeting and why I've done it, for 15 plus years. And you were praised and praised and praised by a couple of individuals that were there. I haven't had a chance to really sit down with you yet, but we're going to fix that because of what I heard yesterday. And they say that you are the fire chief of fire chiefs and that we are so fortunate to have you. And they talked about your approach to solving problems, your common sense way of thinking. And I just I want to put it out there. I'll be reaching out to you because I just want a little FaceTime so I can get to know you a little bit more. Because if your ears were burning yesterday, they were bragging about you at my house. Randy, I will not be speaking with Mr. Duncan. Not that he's going to reach out to me, but he threatened that he's going to file a lawsuit against the city. So my conversations with Mr. Duncan are over until you tell me otherwise. Taste of Ormond Main Street knocked it out of the park. It was excellent. Ormond Beach has some of the best restaurants around, and they showcased that yesterday. Baseball season has begun, so if you're looking for something to do, you can head over to Nova Rec, where I know that the mayor and I grew up playing ball, and you can catch a game. If you happen to see the Cubs, root for them. My kid's on that team, but it was a great showing last night. And last but not least on my list, Joy Shanahan. You are the professional of professionals. Thank you for what you do every single day. I appreciate you. The time you took with me after our workshop to talk to me about another sensitive thing on our agenda from time to time that I happen to get a crazy hair about. I appreciate the way you will take that time to make sure that not only I am understanding the rationale that you have, but also the time you take with each and every one of our residents that reaches out. So thank you, Ms. Shanahan. Mr. Mayor, have a good night.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And just kind of piling on the Taste of Ormond, 21 different restaurants, and Dallas Reese was the musician who did a fantastic job. The weather was perfect. The casement, since it's been remodeled, has been a fantastic location on the river to hold that. Sold out again, and just a amazing crowd, having a great time, tasting some of the best from Ormond Beach restaurants. And Main Street just does a great job year after year with that. If you haven't had the opportunity to go, you need to go and experience it because it really is a fantastic evening. 2 Seabreeze graduates were honored today at Seabreeze High School. One was the school board chairman, Carl Persis. The other was Ormond Beach Zone 3 City Commissioner Susan Persis. And they, I guess, unveiled an honor stone?
It was a legacy brick.
Legacy brick. Yeah. And that is there on the campus now for all to see. You guys do an amazing job in our community. That's well-deserved, and I think it was exciting for you. I know we had staff there taking some pictures, so it'll be in the city newsletter probably, but congratulations to both of you, and thank you for all you do. Yep. Tomorrow morning, I'll be at Winn-Dixie for their grand opening. They've done some renovations. They're excited about making their mark and continuing to provide grocery services in the Ormond Beach community. Looking forward to that, and the economy is going well right now. When you look just over the last few years at all the positive things happening in Ormond Beach, it really is encouraging. And when you see that Starbucks is coming online, Commissioner Selby, your building over there is beautiful on the beach side now with some of the renovations that have been done. Lucky's is coming. Granada Point is coming together. Aldi is going to be opening soon. And it's just positive thing after positive thing that is happening in this community. And that stuff doesn't happen by mistake. It takes a dedicated effort from not only this commission, but from the staff to make it happen. And when you look at all along US 1, the improvements that have happened over the last 7 to 12 years, that took a gargantuan effort with a lot of moving parts, from planning to legal to the direction and leadership of the commission. And all that work is continuing, but I just wanted to point out that there are so many exciting things happening in the future of Ormond Beach, and I don't want to leave out our strategic planning session from Tuesday night, where we spent 4 hours going over every possible project for the city. It's an exhausting process. Marilyn Crotty was gracious enough to come out of retirement and lead us through that, and you're always tired when it's over, but it's such an important part of what we do and an important planning step for the city. So thank you all for taking the time, making the time to be there, and that'll help us going forward. And with that, I'll say good night.